What is up, guys? This is Rob, and welcome back to Rule of Two Review, where today I'm going to talk about all that new Bayonetta 2 info. So as I'm sure most of you probably know, yesterday Nintendo finally gave us the Nintendo Direct focused solely on Bayonetta 2 that a lot of us had been wanting for and kind of expecting to happen. It kind of felt shorter than most recent Nintendo Directs, which I'm not really sure why, because they certainly spent the typical kind of half hour on the game. But, you know, regardless of how short it kind of felt, it was pretty awesome. There was a ton of new info, a ton of footage. The director and, I can't remember who the woman who was with him, somebody else who I think was a producer or programmer worked on the game, spent a lot of time talking to everybody, showcasing some of the cool new features and some of the things going on in Bayonetta 2. And I kind of thought that it was mostly all really awesome information, you know? So I kind of wanted to make a quick video updating on the little bit of info that they did share and kind of my overall thoughts on it. So I think what the Nintendo Direct spent the most time detailing yesterday was the new online mode and the co-op feature for the game, which is pretty cool because for a while we've really known that has been coming, but we didn't really know a lot about it or how it was going to operate overall. So they spent a good amount of time talking about that and kind of giving us the details on that. It is called Tag Climax. That is the name of the mode, or at least the only one they've shown so far. That's probably going to be the only one. And it's cool because it's both competitive and cooperative at the same time. You basically are, you know, playing with another person. You get to select from a cast of characters. There's not a whole lot to pick from right now, but I'll get to that in a moment. And you get to bet halos that is kind of determining basically kind of the difficulty and how many rounds I think you're going to be playing throughout the Tag Climax mode with somebody else. You each bet a different amount of halos. You go through a bunch of different waves of enemies, and you're both working together to defeat the enemies, as well as fighting to have the best high score so that you can also reap the rewards of gaining all these halos back for yourself. What's also really cool about this, and this is something that I really, really loved, is that all of the halos that you actually receive from the Tag Climax mode carry over into the single-player mission. So you can use that for buying new items, moves, combos, power-ups, accessories, things like that. So I'm a big fan when games do that. I wish kind of Call of Duty would do that sort of stuff, and other shooters and stuff have played with it in the past, and I really like the fact that that's being implemented here in Bayonetta 2. I think it's going to be really cool, considering, you know, it's only the second game in the series, quote unquote, but it's the first one to have this kind of, you know, two-player online mode. And I think that they're doing a pretty cool thing there with I like the betting mechanic too. I actually think that's a pretty cool element to add to it, where you're sort of, you know, both taking turns determining exactly what you want to do and how much you want to actually play for. And there's kind of a risk and reward system going on there. So pretty cool. We've known previously that Bayonetta, of course, and then Jean were going to be the only two playable characters for this mode going into the Nintendo Direct. They added another character that's going to be available, and it's really not a surprise. It's Rodin, who's the fellow that's been running the gift shop. I don't know what you want to call it. The shop, basically, in Hell. And you've spent a lot of time with him in the first game, and we've seen a lot of him in the trailers and stuff leading up to this Nintendo Direct. So he was kind of an obvious choice to show up as another playable character. As far as previous characters that could possibly be added for this mode, there's really not a lot to pick from. The only one that I could really imagine showing up, and I think he's almost guaranteed, would be Luca from the first game. We do know that he's going to be back in the second one. We've seen him in some of the trailers, including the trailer that they played at the end of the Nintendo Direct yesterday as well. There's also that new character that seems to be a young kid. He or she, I'm pretty sure it's a boy, but it's kind of hard to tell. He looks like someone who could be like super, super powerful, secretly a very, very good fighter. Obviously has a lot to do with the game and the story. So it's probably a safe bet that he's going to show up as a playable character in the co-op mode in some form as well. And then, you know, there's probably a host of new characters that are going to be showing up, and hopefully we can have quite a varied selection of characters to play in the Tag Climax mode. One of the other really cool and honestly pretty fun things that they announced, and I'm really glad that they did this, was they were talking a little bit more about the costumes, which during E3, when they revealed the fact that the original Bayonetta was going to be included with Bayonetta 2 for free, one of the things they showed were costumes, Nintendo-themed costumes for that first Bayonetta Wii U remake, which was so cool. There was a Link's tunic, there's a Samus gear, and a Princess Peach, and that is really, really a cool, fun addition, I think, to add to that first game, specifically for the Wii U re-release. And what they confirmed yesterday in the Nintendo Direct was not only that those costumes were also coming to Bayonetta 2, which I don't really think a lot of people realize that they previously were only supposed to be coming to the first game. But now we've got it confirmed that those costumes are coming to Bayonetta 2 as well, and also exclusive to Bayonetta 2 only is a Fox McCloud inspired one, and it probably looks like, I have to say, it's the coolest looking one yet. I mean, I'm a huge Samus fan, so I'm really excited to have that. But I feel like the way the Fox costume actually looks, I just think it looks better as a Bayonetta costume than Samus's visor and Various suit do. You know, she's got the ears and she's got the tail and stuff, and you know, I'd be lying if I didn't say it looks completely sexy. And also, Fox McCloud is badass. I love me some Star Fox, so I think that that's a really cool additional Nintendo themed costume specifically for Bayonetta 2. That is not supposed to show up in Bayonetta 1 as far as I know, so that's pretty cool that they've finally confirmed that stuff is coming to Bayonetta 2 and giving even more exclusive goodness solely for the sequel that isn't also being included in the first game. So that's pretty cool. Something else they spent a lot of time on too was talking about some of the weapons. And it seems like the way that the weapons are going to function, both for her hands and her feet weapons, is pretty cool, way more in-depth and thorough than what the first game was. And I think that any weapon that you equip to the feet gives Bayonetta a completely different use out of that weapon than if she has them on her hands. Also, it seems like there's what I've been calling kind of a more focused and linear weapon set than what there was in the first game. The first game, you know, you're picking up a lot of random shit that some enemies dropped, and you could pick them up and use them for a while, and eventually they would go away. You also pick, you know, you get like a sword and stuff that becomes a permanent weapon, like kind of like a katana. And that was really cool. I actually spent most of my time using that katana. It was really fantastic. But they showed a couple other things, like a claw set that, not like the claws in the first game, seem to be a permanent set that you can actually get. And also some more guns, a really awesome looking hammer. And so like I said, you get a that's not a sentence. You get a much more varied, more focused inventory of weapons in this game than what the first one seemed to allow, and I think that that is really cool. I hope that they expand more on that leading up to the game, and that there's a lot you can do as far as your inventory of weapons and how you can kind of mix and match between what you're using on your hands and what you're using with your feet, and how they actually do operate differently between hands and feet. So it's really cool to see a lot of that happening as well. And then, of course, you know, like I said earlier, they closed with this awesome trailer. It's like a 4.5 minute freaking trailer for the game. If you haven't seen it, I'll link that below so you can please go and check it out. It's like the best 4 minutes of gaming on the internet right now. It looks amazing. The game looks so gorgeous. I love to see this next gen version of Bayonetta, you know, 60 frames per second. This is really helping showcase the power of the Wii U for anyone who doesn't really understand how next gen the system really is power wise. And I really appreciate Platinum for taking this, you know, taking advantage of what the system makes available. Oh, also, the last thing I want to touch on, which is both a cool and kind of a negative thing, is they did, you know, mention as far as the control scheme, you know, detailing some more how the button layout and everything is going to work with her in the game. And they also, you know, mention how, yes, you can use the touchscreen on the gamepad as what he said, quote, like a more relaxed way to play Bayonetta as far as the crazy kooky combos and stuff. And they showed just a quick demonstration of somebody using the stylus to play the game and making her fight. And while during the treehouse at E3, they actually did spend some time showing someone actually playing the game this way and talking about it. Between E3 and even the Nintendo Direct yesterday, they really kind of, to my disappointment, haven't talked enough about that. I really want to have a better idea of how that's going to work and how you can play a game as completely batshit crazy as Bayonetta with a stylus on the gamepad touchscreen. I mean, I think it's great you can do it. I'm hoping there are other things that actually use the gamepad, but it seems like it's either you can play the game completely using gamepad controls, or you're just going to not use the touchscreen whatsoever. And I mean, I guess that's fine, but I just wish that they spent more time detailing how that worked. They kind of just showed it, mentioned that it's possible, and then moved on to the next thing. Again, like I said, I really like the idea that they've made it possible to play with the touchscreen and the gamepad, but I mean, what does that mean? I wish that they had showed us more, and it's kind of too bad that they really didn't. So yeah, at the end of the day, that's kind of a summary of most of the things that they talked about. I don't know if I'm really forgetting anything. I might have, because, you know, like I said, it was 30 minutes of Bayonetta. You know, if anyone else can remember anything, definitely feel free to talk about it below. But those are kind of the things that I mostly took away from it. The online mode tag Climax, the new costumes exclusive to Bayonetta 2, you know, the Fox McCloud costume, Of course, the weapon set, and then the trailer at the very end showcasing more of the story and how freaking epic it's going to be. Well, I guess one last thing that they did really talk about was, of course, there was the touchscreen controls and also the packaging of the game. Apparently, Bayonetta 1 is going to be on its own disc, which I'm not going to lie, I am super happy with. I mean, at the end of the day, it really wouldn't have mattered if it was on, the same disc or two different discs, but I just kind of like these things separated for a collector's sake. So I really like that if you buy the retail copy, you get Bayonetta 1 on its own disc for free inside the packaging. Super, super badass. And when they discussed, some people seem to be confused about this, so I did want to talk about this. As far as the online digital purchase, if you purchase it that way, so if you purchase Bayonetta 2 in and of itself, you get Bayonetta 2 for like, $60, just like you would if you bought it in a store. But if you basically have the option to pick up Bayonettas 1 and 2 together, and if you do that, they discount the prices between the two of them so that it still equals $60 to get both games. So they're not ripping anyone off. You still, even if you purchase online digitally, you get both games for the same price, for the $60 you would pay if you bought it in a store. But what I think is really cool about that, he didn't really expand upon this, but I think that means that you could technically buy Bayonetta 1 or 2 at any time by themselves if you wanted. Again, if you buy them together, you get the discount so that you still pay $60. But maybe in 6 or 7 months or whatever, you might be able to somebody out there might be able to just buy Bayonetta 1 for maybe like 10 or $15 or something like that digitally if they wanted to, and not buy Bayonetta 2. And that's pretty neat in and of itself. It's cool that they're making them two different purchases, but I don't really know that. That's kind of just the way he made it sound. Like I said, he didn't detail it. What he mostly detailed was you can buy them, online digitally and buy them together, and you get the discounted price that they still equal the same $60. So either way, it's pretty cool to get the detailing on that. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that happened yesterday. My thoughts, super, super pumped for the game. It's one of my most hyped for the year. I think it's going to be a Game of the Year contender. I don't really know if I could see it being the Game of the Year, but it's definitely going to be worthy of that, I think. So it was a great Nintendo Direct. I'm really glad for Platinum Games and Nintendo putting that on. Everyone has been saying for a while that they needed to kind of get a Bayonetta 2 focused Nintendo Direct, and it's cool because it seems to be, Nintendo's MO going forward is every exclusive game, first or third party, they're going to give us a half-hour Nintendo Direct dedicated solely to that game. And I really, really love that idea. Kudos to Nintendo. Very, very smart. I think it's going to help the game be even more successful than it already was going to. We should all use this to pump that Operation Platinum because, as I said before, I'm somebody who does support that idea. So this is really good news. Bayonetta 2 looked awesome, and the Nintendo Direct yesterday was fan-freaking-tastic. And so that's it for today. Of course, if you like what I'm doing, please feel free to subscribe to Rule of 2 Review, like and share the video, and share your comments and your thoughts about Bayonetta 2 and the Nintendo Direct below. And that will be it. So thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you guys on the next video.